It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and thanks for staying with us. We head straight to looking at the pages of our national dailies. We call it Off the Press. Tunde Kolawole joins us this morning via phone. Tunde, it's good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me once again.
All right, then. Let's take a quick look at the leadership newspaper. We'll start off with that. 2023 presidency. Tinubu Atiku Obi market selves at Jos Rally, Lagos Pali. And that's the bold caption. APC flag bearer bangs on PMB, that's President Muhammadu Buhari, 22 governors, says education, security, agriculture priority. Another writer says, I'll remove fuel subsidy, asks for debt forgiveness. That's what Atiku is quoted to say. Obi woes Lagos business community as Labour Party declares Soludo's a distraction. These are some of the writers you find this morning underneath that bold caption. We'll just run quickly through the papers this morning or the bold stories. ASU protests accuses Ngige of withholding members' salaries. Nigerian Air court freezes federal government paths with Ethiopian Airlines. Senate race, Akpabio contests exclusion at Supreme Court. According to him, he says his lawyers are, studying the ruling. All tapped. Court detains remainder of the MT heroic Idun crew. Will complete all projects before leaving office. Wike is quoted to say. Now, these are the headlines you find this morning on the leadership, Kofi.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's go to the Nation with the following headlines. You can see a crowd there, I'm sure, trying to show that APC has also its supporters, crowd of All Progressives Congress supporters at the launch yesterday. It looks quite much. I don't know if it's more than what Labour Party has been getting over the past few weeks. But the big story there on the front page of the Nation, Tinubu, brighter days ahead. 3 local operators rejected Nigeria Air offer, court halts airlines takeoff. 26 Nigerians, foreigners, arraigned for oil theft, are some of the headlines on the front page of the Nation. Brighter days ahead, Mercy. Don't forget that.
Well, hopefully, we'll just take a quick look at the Daily Trust newspaper. Nigeria won't sink under my watch, Tinubu is quoted to say, and people are saying, hey, remember vividly that when President Muhammadu Buhari was campaigning, the former Lagos State Governor, Tinubu was, on the front burner of it. And he constantly said, this is the man, this is the man. Issue right now is, how do we now believe you, especially when you're still part of this party? President Muhammadu Buhari, you sold to Nigerians, we're still here. Pledges to build on Buhari's achievement. Quite interesting. Our country needs Tinubu. Buhari is also saying, says a back and forth. Why Northerners should vote Jagaban, El-Rufai is quoted to say. Asiwa Jews gaff on God bless Nigeria. How God bless PDP prophetic. That's what the PDP is quoted to say. It was one video that got a lot of Nigerians talking. The comments right there are quite hilarious.
Okay. When he said God bless PDP,
yes.
Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah, that's what he actually got. Anambra, I have done my part. It's your turn to deliver. Obi replies, Soludo. Court stops the federal government from selling Nigerians' air share to Ethiopian Airlines. You remember that conversation about almost 46 or thereabout. We'll just quickly take this and then move away. World's population hits 8 billion people. Fire got stored Kanu stores and Singer Market. That's it this morning on the Daily Trust paper.
All right, quickly take some stories from the front page of the Punch. VP hits plateau with 30 private VIPs hit plateau with 30 private jets. Plateau is Plateau State in north central Nigeria. 30 private jets, charter jets, and a lot of riders on that. We'll take it as we go on, and without wasting time, bringing our guest right here, Tunde Kolawole, legal practitioner, lawyer, who joins us via video link from Lagos. Mr. Kolawole, thank you very much for your time once again. Let's start with the Yes, thank you. Let's start with the APC campaign flag off. Of course, the presidential flag, the flag of office or authority, was handed over to Bola Ahmed Tinubu by President Muhammadu Buhari officially in front of the people. I think this is the second one after the one in Abuja. But what has got people talking, as Daily Trust has said, is a gaffe by the APC presidential candidate, where he was saying, God bless PDP, before changing it to say, oh, not PDP, APC. Is that a normal mistake? Because the PDP is saying that this is a prophetic, and they've also used it to say, some of the opponents of the candidate, to say he's not mentally ready, and fit to be president of Nigeria. So was that a normal gaffe that anyone can make, maybe you keep saying PDP, PDP throughout the day, that he makes such a mistake?
Well, I would not want us to emphasize the so-called gap that the APC presidential flag bearer was said to have made himself. Reason being that you and I would know that preparing for such a mega rally and all the meetings and traveling all over the places that all these politicians have been doing would have put a lot of stress and strain on them, such that they could be prone to make the kind of mistake that the APC flag bearer was said to have made. Furthermore, a slip of tongue is nobody is immune to a slip of tongue. Anybody could make a slip of tongue. The only reason why that of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is being emphasized is because he has made too many of such gaffes in the recent times. He went to Casino Investment Forum, where it was alleged, he said they will fight on a bad situation to a rocky one. And also, in the past, he has been seen not to remember certain things, and then some of his supporters or party members or personal assistants were standing behind him to whisper to his ear what he may have forgotten. Like I said, it is as the campaign goes on now, there's going to be more stress and strain. If he now continue to make this kind of Gaza and all that, then the Nigerian people would be right to say that the APC presidential flag bearer may be having some challenges with regards to either remembering things or articulating whatever he might have wanted to say.
All right, let's move away from that caption and look at another where same Bola Tinubu is quoted to say that Nigeria won't sink under his watch. He said, Nigeria won't sink under my watch. What do you make of this, especially where we talk about continuity? We say government is a continuum. And we understand that looking at this administration, Nigerians have not really been quite impressed. If you look at the reactions and the polls of the people, we should get back to the policy circle. And now you also have the flag bearer who's saying, hey, Nigeria won't sink under my watch. And also saying that he would also capitalize on the achievement of, Buhari's administration, of course, which he's part of.
That's a very interesting one. If you look at our history, most times when new people come into power, especially as head of state or as president, one of the first pronouncements they always make is that Nigeria will not sink under them. What they are telling the people is that they will want to keep Nigeria together at all costs and by all means. And I am never comfortable with that kind of stance. My belief is that the only thing that is permanent in life is change. Nigeria, as we have it today, didn't start as Nigeria. There were different nations that were brought together by the colonial masters and what have you. 1914, which got independence in 1960. If you also look around the world, you remember the former Soviet Union. It used to be a very, very big republic comprising of so many ethnic nationalities. But at the time it broke up, also remember Yugoslavia, remember India and Pakistan and Indonesia used to be together. And at the time, 3 countries emerged from that region of the world. So when Nigerian leaders begin to say and do or make this kind of a posturing, they appear to me not to be a student of history. To the best of my knowledge, or my humble opinion, it shouldn't be a thing. I mean, we should not be saying that we want to keep Nigeria together at all costs. If there are reasons, if there are agitations, genuine agitations for people to secede or to leave Nigeria, all that we need to do as people is to behave in a very, very civilized manner, organize a referendum for such parts of the country, allow the people agitating to secede, to campaign and lobby for votes, and then the federal government will also campaign for people to stay in Nigeria. And then people will go to the ballot and cast their referendum and all that. Whoever wins, whether it's those who want to succeed or those who want to stay, then we'll carry the day. That is the way things should be done in modern society, and not for you to say you want to keep Nigeria together at all costs. If there is injustice, you will not be able to keep Nigeria together. If you are unable to manage the behemoth that is called Nigeria today, certainly there is no reason why it should not unravel. Justice is the bedrock of unity. Without justice, there can not be unity. One thing is paramount today, and that paramountcy is that all things are not well with Nigeria. And we should be very, very realistic, we should be very pragmatic in addressing the problem of the nation, not continue to say we want to keep Nigeria together at all costs. As regards building on the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari, well, in fairness, there is nobody that comes to power, especially as president, especially as governor, who will say they don't want to improve the lot of their people. What usually happens most times is that when these people get to power, they might find out that they lack the capacity to do what they may have wanted to do, or the capacity to run the country effectively. They are sometimes always faced with the challenges of resources. And if they don't have the expertise to raise the necessary resources to manage the country, then there is a problem. Certainly, President Muhammadu Buhari can be said to have achieved certain things, especially in the area of infrastructure and attempt to develop agriculture. And then also by and large, I have noticed that the issue of kidnapping and banditry is a little slowing down in the northern part of the country. The bandits and kidnappers seem to be relocating to the southwest of the country. So, to that, I would say, he has achieved certain things, even though it may not have met our expectations as a nation, because there was very, very high expectation that he is the one as a general and as a
Tunde Kolawole, sorry to interject here. Yeah.
That can take Nigeria out of the mood.
Yeah, Tunde Kolawole, are you saying that okay, the president has achieved some things? You mentioned security, for instance. I think if you're saying that it's maybe one of his achievements, the reduction of banditry and kidnapping in northern part of the country, I would come back to the nation and ask you this question, then ask you the main question. It's a follow-up question to what Messi asked you earlier. Is Nigeria more secure today than it was in 2015 when the president assumed office and said, I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody, and said the IGP must move his command and control structure to Zambia? Then didn't know he had not moved it all that while after he said so. Is Nigeria more secure now than it was then? Number one. Number two, Tinubu says on the front page of the Nation newspaper, his paper, brighter days ahead. What are your thoughts on that statement, brighter days ahead? Do you think is this that straightforward to say brighter days ahead? Because it reminds me of all those newspaper headlines that we've been seeing from 1983, 84, 85, where they say, power outages to end in 1989, you know. So what are your thoughts on this, please? These two questions I've asked.
Well, very beautiful questions, that I would say. I'm not going to say that Nigeria is more secured in 2022 than when President Muhammadu Buhari got in 2015, for example. My take is that the situation could have gotten worse. You will recollect that when he came in 2015 or thereabouts, there are certain parts of this country that were totally overrun, like the Boko Haram and Iswa, such that you hardly can travel or go to such places. Places like Borno, for example, places like Santara, places like Kaduna, and especially Southern Kaduna and what else. Abuja too, bombs were flying by the bandits on a daily basis, I mean almost on a monthly basis, without anybody being able to do much about it. And of course, the schools in the north were unable to operate before now. But when you look around now, some of the schools in the north have opened, and then the Boko Haram, which used to control most part of Borno State and Zamfara State and other, have retreated. What we have in some of those places today is banditry and kidnapping, which in my humble opinion, it's a byproduct of what the Islamic fundamentalists were doing. Because sometimes they engage in some of these activities in order to raise the necessary resources to buy weapons and then to pay their soldiers to be able to continue whatever they say they are fighting for. So it is not more secured, but it could have gotten worse. With regards to achievements in the area of power and what have you, and Lord, it's not too different from that of security. In fact, if there have been very major significant improvement and all that, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be again be promising in 2022. Security will be the priority, that agriculture will be the priority, right, that he will ensure that Nigeria remains the United Nations. The mere fact that he's repeating all those and all that is a kind of affirmation that all is still not well in this area, and that the achievement of his party and that of President Muhammadu Buhari is not as far with what the Nigerian people had looked forward to when they were voting the APC into government in 2015 and throwing out the PDP. Well, the situation in Nigeria now calls for hard work. Unfortunately, and I have my fear that anybody who takes over power in Nigeria today, where is going to get the resources of money to do some of the things that Satiwadi is talking about, I really don't know. Atiku is talking about the debt, the forgiveness. I'm not too sure that any nation will be ready to forgive our debt when they have done so under the Obasanjo regime. Asiwaju is also talking about, Atiku talk about removal of subsidy with the hardship in the land. When you remove first subsidy and what have you, are going to be creating a more serious action for the Nigerian people. Let's hope that.
Let's move away from that now. For the want of time,
APC,
let's move away from that.
Presidential flag bearer is claiming to have achieved in Lagos in terms of the capacity to generate more resources. To be able to do it at the national level, which, in my humble opinion, may be difficult in the sense that when he was in power between 1989 and thereabout, the situation in Nigeria today is different. While it's no longer selling as it used to sell in the international market, the Niger Delta, the restiveness in the Niger Delta is not getting any better. If it was better, we wouldn't be hiring a private individual to be securing the pipeline for us. You also read the story with regard to trying to revitalize the Nigerian Airways. That was a promise that President Muhammadu Buhari made before he got into power in 2016. He even promised that he will convert some of the presidential aircraft or some of the aircraft, the presidential fleet, give them to the Nigerian Airways so as to be able to resuscitate that industry. But almost 8 years into governance, has he been able to do it? There is enormous problems in the land. There are enormous challenges.
Tunde Kolawole, can you hear me? Tunde Kolawole, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
All right, let's move away from that. And that's because we don't have time. It's already 8 o'clock and we need to move away. But just before we move on, let's share your thoughts on this issue briefly. The court has actually, that's on the Leadership newspaper, by the way. The court stops Nigerian Air and Ethiopian Air deal. They're saying there's an injunction by Federal Court, High Court in Lagos here, granting an interim injunction restraining the federal government and Ethiopian Airline from proceeding with the establishment of its proposed national carrier called the Nigerian Air Limited. Your thoughts on that?
Honestly speaking, it's a very shameful thing that a country with a population of about 116 million and with all manners of engineers all over the place and with some of the citizens working in NASA, working in some of the high scientific universities around the world, will now be contracting a tiny country like Ethiopia to be managing its airways. I, as a person, I'm not too happy, I'm not too comfortable with that arrangement. But again, you also ask yourself, an agreement is an agreement. Those who are taking the federal government to court and Ethiopian Airlines to court, what were they looking when these agreements were being entered into? I am sure they could have also kind of offer to take over or run the Nigerian Airways if they have the expertise and the resources to do it. But the truth of the matter is that our allies, those who are in the air industry, are proven incapable of running Nigerian Airways. Too many times attempts have been made to refloat that airline. Okay. Too many times it has always been granted. You will not believe it. A tiny country like Ethiopia depends on its airways and the coffee that is sent in the international market to be able to run the country, to be able to run their society, to be able to provide the infrastructure that they have provided. They have built one of the biggest dams in the world today over River Nile. Why are we unable to do that? So long as our people are unable to run their or manage their affairs the way it should be managed, other people like Ethiopians, like the Nepalese, like the Indians, like the Americans, like the Germans, will come in. After today, it is even Siemens that is managing the Nigerian army, managing the power sector in the country today, with all the investing, with all the engineers that we have around the place. So, this is a lesson for us as a people. If we don't want this kind of humiliation to continue for us as a nation, as a country, and what have you, then we must get our house together, run our institutions the way it should be managed, and be able to exclude corruption, because corruption is at the bottom of most of these things. If you take away corruption, I'm not too sure that the Ethiopian people are better than us in the management of the air. In fact, I was reading a paper which showed that there was an aircraft landed in the air in 1914. When that has never happened, I think in a place like France, aircraft didn't begin to land in France until 1914. Whereas it has landed in a place like was it Lokoja or Kaduna or thereabouts? I can't remember specifically. So if the aircraft has been landing in Nigeria since 1914, why will we not be able to run airways and airlines effectively and profitably?
Tunde Kolawole, we have to go now. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time this morning and your thoughts as well on the show. And we look forward to sharing more of it.
Hello, Lady Nancy.
If you can hear me, we have to go now, Tunde.
Okay.
Unfortunately. We just hope that you can hear us now. We're really out of time, and that's because we need to take a quick break. And when we return, it'll be time for us to be looking at our first major conversation. Kofi, it's so much to talk about Nigeria every other time.
We'll be right back. Please stay with us.